Hey everybody, I'm your man from AFR, and this is Alex Taylor to sit and talk to me about family, racing, and what it means to her, and why young people should be running not only AFR heads, but they should be running at the racetrack. All right, Alex, we could talk car parts all day long, but the reality is I am very passionate and very happy to see so much youth get into racing, get into drag racing essentially. Let's talk about your rise to all this, because it's a story you've told before, but AFR customers want to know.
Yeah, so, and the funny part is AFR has been a part of that since kind of the very beginning. So, starting very background, very beginning, I kind of grew up in the industry, so to say, as cliche as that sounds, the whole in your blood thing, a little cliche, right? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. But to be fair, I really did grow up in the shop setting from 2 weeks old, like bouncy little seat and everything, you know? So that's where it started. So then all throughout my, I don't know, until I was 13, 14 and could drive, at that point and all that, we have hardships in Arkansas, licenses. So that's where that age thing came from. Anyways, I grew up at the shop and I followed my dad around and all of his customers and everybody that was there. I got to interact with them and all of his employees. I followed them around, and it was constantly just like, well, what can I do? I want to do something. I want to be hands-on with this. Granted, they were building show cars, street rods at the time, so it was a little bit different than high performance and drag racing and all of that, but I still wanted to be as hands-on as I possibly could. And I remember they'd let me put washers on bolts for them, or let me help roll, fiberglass, like just random little things, but it helped fuel my, my passion for it. So growing up in it, I didn't really realize that there was a totally different world. And I know not everybody has that, chance to grow up in a setting like that, but it took me a little while to understand that that wasn't normal, necessarily. Like growing up in a shop every single day isn't your typical setting. But anyway, so I fell in love with it, and I really didn't even see any other way to live, basically. Like, we wake up and we talk about cars. We sit at dinner and we talk about cars. Of course, I hang out with my friends is a little different, but cars are there every single day. So as I got a little bit older, I turned 16, 15, we decided to build my first car, which was a 68 Camaro, so that way I could drive it to high school. Nice, simple, easy, daily driver, nothing crazy. But back up just a little bit, my dad had traded for the 2007 Drag Week winning car that Denny Turgis had built in 2007. 67 Camaro, first 7-second street car for Hot Rod Magazine's Drag Week. Game changer. I absolutely fell in love with that car, and then when they sold it, broke my heart. So that's where the 68 Camaro came into play when I was 15. So we built that car, it's supposed to be easy. I knew I'd wanted to do drag week, I just never realized it would be me doing it by myself the very first time. So my dad happened to mention, as we're sitting down in the shop one day, working on my car, 15 years old, and he says, what if you did drag week with it? Would you want to do that? And I was like, absolutely I would. Is that an option? So that's where the snowball happened, right there. So I started posting on Bank Shift because I wanted to be part of them when I got to drag week. That was before the Facebook group days, Bank Shift was still the thing. And so I was on there on forums, sharing the build of the Camaro and everything like that. And so then for 7 years, I raced the Camaro all through high school, drove it to high school still, raced during college and all that, but it wasn't until I finished my marketing degree up last 2020 May, I finally got to take all this on full time, and so I get to live a dream, and I'm super thankful for it. But we built the 55 and doing different content creation and stuff like that. So basically I'm looking every day to find a way to continue to race and do what I love, because it makes me smile.
All along the way, and I joke sometimes that I have not only my own daughter, but my shop daughters. I guess you're my, my other daughter.
Other daughter.
What's so important is the relationships, not only with friends, but more important, family along the way. How integrated and how important was that growing up to have the support that led you to where you're at?
Yeah, so my parents are incredible with this, because there's a lot of parents that would probably discourage their daughter from going into, what I do. Not that it's anything bad with it, but there's a lot of parents that don't understand drag racing cars and things like that. So my parents, they always just they allowed me to have the resources, and if I wanted to do something, my dad would help me find a way to make it happen. Not in a spoiled sense, it was never anything like that. It was just that my dad is incredibly smart and he's super capable. I don't know that I've ever asked him a question that he doesn't come up with an answer to, and if not, we'll figure it out. And so when we were actually building the 55, he was like, I can't buy you a car, but we darn sure can build one. You know, and so like, how cool is that? Like, that's just so neat. So that just encapsulates everything as growing up. Like, I remember I'd be in the shop and I love to ask questions, and he is probably the best teacher that I know as far as anybody that's had that influence on me. So I ask him, like, you know, what's this or what's that? And it slows his work down so much, but he stops and like teaches me. I remember like I would ask, there was something about like pi, how to figure out like circumference or something like that. We just sit down and have math lessons. Like, he just teach me so much. So having my family like super close is so much more important, you know, than like spending time in high school with friends and things like that, because like my family is still here and those friends they're not, you know, not that you have to be a recluse, but family is very important, and having them on my side, like, I don't have to worry about them backstabbing me or anything like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know they have my best interest at, you know, the core of everything. And so even though there's a butt head here, a butt head there, it's like I stop and I'm like, dang it, you're right, man. Like, I should have worked a little harder that day, or, you know, something like that. So family has been incredible. But with that said, I've also made friends and industry friends and stuff like that. That has felt like they've become family at the same time. So just the relationships, more so than anything, I think are the most important thing with all of it.
Well, you know, and there was also some constraints, you know. I mean, I will be admitting when I say that I check my daughter's grades every week.
Yeah.
And the idea was also you had to have a 4-point. It wasn't just cruise through life and we'll build some cars.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was goals that you had to meet beyond just having fun in a car.
So the way it all started actually was because when I was probably, I don't know, 14, you know, getting to the age where you're starting to start thinking about a car, you know, you're getting close to 16. My parents had made me the deal. They're like, if you get college paid for, we'll buy you a car when you graduate, which is not spoiled. That's actually in the long run, that's, you know, a lot cheaper. So I was like, okay, but they're like, you know, you gotta graduate, get your college paid for, or whatever. I was like, okay, deal. I was gonna drive my mom's car through high school. Well, we reversed that a little bit. So we ended up building my car, but it wasn't like I slacked off or did anything like that. I graduated high school as valedictorian 4.0, went to college, full ride. College paid me to go to college, so I made money to go to college. And I actually graduated from my program and the College of Business as valedictorian of those programs. So it was a lot of work, and I stayed drag racing during all of it. I still worked on my business. I started my first LLC when I was in high school and shut that one down and started a second LLC to start Alex Taylor Racing. So it's been like a lot of head down. I have fun, but a lot of head down, hustle forward kind of thing. And you know, my outlook is like the time will pass, so might as well have something that I have to show for it, because that way you can look back on it. So. Well,
I think that would be something that, you know, all young people, let alone young women, want to hear. Is it's sometimes, as you have said, things can be cliche.
Yeah.
It's a man's world. It's not a man's world. It's a passion world.
Absolutely.
If you have passion, what was the driving force? What made you realize this was the path, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to blaze it?
So it's actually kind of funny. So it's one of those things, as I say, like it feels like home. Like I hear a car start and it gives me a giggle factor. Like I'm like, I love that, you know. And so I can't picture myself doing anything else. Not that I'm simple-minded or close-minded on it, it's just I love this whole world. And so for me, it was more like, I know this is where I want to be, so I have to figure out what I can do to stay here, if that makes sense. Like, I was in college, as I said, valedictorian, book smart, which was almost a little bit of a curse, because like I have this really good, you know, GPA and all this, and I'm telling my college teachers, they're like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to go drag racing, and I'm going to make content, and I'm gonna, you know, work with all these companies on stuff. And they're like, and I was like, but as a backup plan, I might be a lawyer. So that was actually my backup plan. Like I took my LSAT and everything like that, and I told myself, just because I felt that college pressure, like everybody was on you about, like, you know, you tell them you're gonna go drag racing. I admit it doesn't sound like the best idea, but if the passion's there, going back to what you're saying, you can make it. Like, everything is a business at the end of the day. Anything is a business. So figuring out how to make that your business. And so for me, that's just what it's been. Like, I knew I needed a brand when I started Alex Taylor Racing. But to be fair, at the time, I didn't think Alex Taylor Racing held enough weight to actually be a brand. But you gotta start somewhere. So that's what I always tell everybody. Like, was Alex Taylor Racing anything like 3 years ago? Absolutely not. No, it wasn't. It was just a girl that put her name with racing at the end of it. But I knew that that would be my brand one day. So I've worked towards that. And it's been a kind of a different path. And thinking about, you know, the pressure of college, like I was saying, I went and took my LSAT. I talked to all my teachers, and I was going to do that. But thankfully, I had a couple mentors, and they were like, "Don't do that. Like, take that full on. Take the opportunities while they're there, and you can go to law school later if it doesn't work out." So I graduated. I told myself I was going to give myself 6 months, which is stupid, but give myself 6 months, and if something doesn't work, I'll go to law school. I'll go take my LSAT, go practice it. That was Corona times. Whatever. 6 months didn't count. But anyways, I just dove full into it, and I stumble and trip every day, but I learn at the same time, and so it's okay. So I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I have no idea, but we'll figure it out when tomorrow comes.
Well, one of the things you mentioned was working with companies when you started all this. I mean, that comes down to the relationship with AFR,
Absolutely.
Which has really kind of been there from the beginning. I mean, how has that relationship helped you from whether it's I'm going to create a team, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to build cars. How did that help you?
So it's funny. I came to PRI for the very first time in 2013. I don't think I talked to AFR probably until 2014 PRI, but Chris, if he was here, he'd tell this story too. I come, trotting up, 16, 17, whatever it was at the time, and we just started conversing. I didn't know anything that I needed to be doing. I didn't know anything about a proposal. I didn't know anything about a deck. I didn't know how a sponsor worked. I didn't even know what I was looking for, to be fair. But Tim and Chris from AFR, they were just like, they believed in me, and they saw something that I didn't even realize was a thing. But that comes back to the passion. And they're like, one day it's gonna, like, they knew that one day it would pan out. I didn't know that. And so, like, having them, like, come up along the way, and, it started off very small. It's like, I think I got a discount on heads. Great. And it's like, you can think about it sometimes as partnerships and sponsorships are work. You're working for a partnership. You work to become, where you're integrated together rather than just here, buy these heads kind of thing. Like, it's a partnership. And so we started off, small, but it was just like the advice for one along the way, and the help. And then as I grew and our projects grew, our relationship grew. And so coming up along that and having those very initial companies that just like believed in me when there was nothing there, like I'm so thankful for it. Like, it's been a game changer. So
what's the best part of the ride? It's
a
really
ride.
It's been a short ride.
It's been a ride.
You're a young lady.
I've been in it for 8 years.
But it's been a short ride.
What's
the best part?
I think the best part is like realizing that I have the power to inspire somebody else to start somewhere. So like, that's like the coolest part for me, because I didn't ever know that that's the position that I would get to be in. And so when somebody comes up to me and they're like, I love, like, especially young people, and they come up to me and they're like, you inspired me to like get my first car and like start doing this. And I'm like, okay, that's so cool. Like, that's a big, heavy role to hold, but like, it's a very neat role. So that's very cool. And it's just been fun to like not know what tomorrow brings. Like, some people get very stuck on one thing, like a specific path. Like, this is where I'm going to end up. People ask me, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to end up. I just know what I love, and I'm going to take an opportunity if it's here, and I'm going to go there. And so I love to wake up every day and not know that I don't have to go sit at my 9-to-5 office job that I absolutely hate. So I'm thankful for both sides. Thankful to get to do it, and thankful that I get to, help inspire others. So it's been a fun journey, and I feel like I hope it's the beginning of a journey, not the end of, anything like that. So hopefully this journey just continues. All
right, well, you heard it from her. She can inspire you. She can give you advice. She can help you walk the path. She can also put you on the trailer. But if people need to know where to find you, where do they go?
You want to watch on YouTube more in depth, you go to Riding with Alex Taylor, and then on all other platforms, it's Alex Taylor Racing.
You heard her. It is AFR right here, PRI 2021.